Welcome to the Buzzing with Barca podcast. Here, we talk about the latest and the hottest topics for the FC Barcelona fans. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Enjoy!
Hello guys, welcome back to the Buzzing with Barca podcast, where we have with us today after a long time, Kai, El Juego de Posición. He is very popular on Twitter and he is a member of our team and he's back with us after a long time. So Kai, how have you been?
I've been fine. What about you, Sagnik?
Yeah, of course, I'm doing great too, but we haven't been pumping out videos because the schedules are a little hectic. So on the bright side though, we have a lot of very good topics to cover today. So we're going to start with the first one, extra time win versus Cornella. So I want to give a very brief thing that they've been very good. They've beat Atletico de Madrid, the La Liga topper. So people who say that La Liga is a peasant league, then they have a lot to watch. So Kai, what's your opinion about this?
I would say that the first thing is that it's extremely surprising to have Cornella beat Madrid and almost really posing difficulties to us concerning that if you look on the tactical plan, there's nothing that stands out. They're not a very high possession team. They're not exactly a low block either. It seems that it's the type of team where if they are at home, because they have a different home since they have another field, they actually just pose difficulties just by the nature of being at home. And I think it's really a game of psychology that they're actually playing that enables them to actually cause chaos and then eventually win or at least almost provoke the draw.
Yes, definitely. And as you said, that their home is quite a bit different than what the players at FC Barcelona are used to playing at. Starting with the turf especially, it was artificial. So and also it looked smaller. So players like Dembele, who like to have their own space and exploit the space and create more space, had a lot less to work with. And also, as you said, it was more of a psychological battle. I would 100% agree with that. And I think it was definitely the case too with Atletico de Madrid because, as you said, there was no clear tactical winner there because their tactics literally wasn't very challenging or didn't compose of anything very threatening. So, yes, I would like to agree with you that it was mostly a psychological battle. Hitting the buzzer, on our next topic, Dembele and Pedri shining. As many people say that Bartomeu really regretted signing Pedri because he is one of our best players. And Dembele, after his long run with injuries, is starting to really become an integral part of the team under Koeman. He has been having lesser injuries. Maybe some sources say that Koeman has been providing a special form of training to Dembele to help him cope with them. So, Kai, what is your opinion about this?
I would say that the obvious thing is that he probably has had the longest run of games where not only he's not injured, but where we can confidently say that he was amongst the best players on the pitch. And not only that, but he's consistently, firstly, contributing to goals, and secondly, improving his decision making, which seems a lot more mature. And I totally do believe that Koeman actually likes him, and that is why he put this special training for him, because you can see that he's very different in literally every sense of the word, in his game, in his attitude, how he reacts. And the good thing that I liked about him is that yes, in the beginnings of yesterday's match, he didn't play that well considering he's normal, But the fact is that he actually scored our first goal, and that is important because that shows that he has this ability finally to now actually influence the game like we always wanted him to.
Of course, he adds that dash of unpredictability, which our team really lacks at the moment. And what about Pedri, Kai?
I would say that at first I wasn't exactly impressed with yesterday's match. I felt that he still did seem to be a bit tired, a bit sloppy maybe at times. But globally, I wouldn't blame him. The fact is that he's had a long run of games. He's coming in a team where basically everybody's a mess. So I wouldn't blame anyone saying he's been totally shit or whatever, because the whole team, let's face it, has been subpar. And the fact is that what I really was impressed by Pedri is towards the end, not only the famous pass to Braithwaite, which surprised everyone, but just generally that as the game continued, he seemed to be improving more and more, and that's what you want from him.
Yes, and as far as I would like to add on your points is that Dembele's decision making, even though it is leaps and bounds better from before, not just because he's been getting more minutes, but in general. But I definitely do think that he needs to improve on it a lot, because throughout the matches, not just yesterday, he has had some attempts for long shots which he has missed very badly, and people have been calling him selfish because let's face it, he had lots of better options to pass to. But of course, people also call it a perk, Dembele's perk, because he can play with both feet. He's very unpredictable. He can take a shot from anywhere, and he has the potential in him to convert it into a goal. Sadly, he hasn't been able to convert all of them, but definitely I think this is a play style rather than him being selfish. And about Pedri, as you said, that the team it's better now, but team was in shambles, and even then Pedri managed to create chances, and his sheer chemistry with Messi has led to the speculations by young fans who have been comparing him to Iniesta, and definitely that is a topic which is way soon to talk about right now, but the very fact that a young player like him, one of the youngest of our squad, a young player like him coming in a team in shambles and then making people speculate him as one of the greatest midfielders of all time really says something about him. So, hitting the buzzer, moving on to the next topic. No signings till summer. Well, we wanted some players like Eric Garcia before the match against PSG in the UCL, but it is what it is. Some people expected it too, because transfers should not have taken place before the presidential elections and they got postponed. So, Kai, what's your view about this, and what do you think is going to come in the future?
Well, once again, it's very hard to predict, because I think that most of us actually expected to have these elections on the 24th. And essentially, with that said, that meant a whole week in the transfer, which means that most probably one of Font or Laporta could have had the chance to send Eric Garcia, especially considering that Piqué is still injured. It would be very helpful. The fact is that it didn't happen because the election got postponed, and I don't think we really expected anyone else. Of course, we know that Koeman wants Depay really bad, but as we've seen, that doesn't seem to be feasible as of right now. And
exactly.
The fact is that since we didn't get Garcia, I don't think that realistically you could expect any other signing, nor wish actually, because given the fact that you have an interim board, you don't want them to have long-term decisions over transfers or very high salaries, which is why I think that it was the right decision, even though I would have liked Eric Garcia, but I don't think it's dramatic considering that, for example, Araujo has really stepped up, which we'll talk, by the way, later. But my thought is that I think it was the right decision because Eric Garcia will only be a plus, but not a must for me.
Yes, and to sum up the squad's condition right now, it's like the leader of the defense, our very old veteran player Gerard Piqué, he's out we don't know if he'll be back before the PSG match. Lenglet is a struggling mess right now, and Araujo has been our savior, which we will talk about later on. That's why the fans were really desperate for Eric Garcia to join as soon as the elections were over. But sadly, the elections got postponed, and it's a matter of speculation whether it's good or bad. But yes, we have to deal with this right now. And as you said, Eric Garcia would be a plus because Oscar Mingueza, I believe he can step up as a good center back. But also players like Todibo, etc., the players we were promised by Laporta, like Haaland, they can wait because they are, at the end of the day, long-term investments of our club. And they are investments, and each penny counts right now at FC Barcelona. So definitely the interim board should not take decisions as far as future transfers are concerned. So we got away, there's no two ways about it. Hitting the buzzer. Moving on to the next topic. The loss versus Athletic Club. Yes, a very sensitive topic. Very controversial topic. So Kai, why don't you start with this?
I would say that the first thing that strikes me is that when you look at the first half and how we evolved, we never evolved in the first place. That means that in this type of fixtures, especially when it's literally our final, you expect the manager, to do some changes, perhaps, really react quickly. Now, I don't think we've seen that with Koeman when it comes to substitutions.
Ever.
Yeah, but I mean, there are some games I remember at the beginning of the season where he would switch at 60th, 70th minute. But at that point, you really need to step up. Now, I know to which extent Koeman was actually willing to win the trophy. I'm hoping it was the most. But the thing is, we were very problematic in there, especially when it comes to Messi, in the sense that the management of his minutes has been tremendously terrible. You know that Messi is not feeling the most comfortable. He just missed a match against Real Sociedad, and then you put him even more. You continue to play him in the extra time, knowing that this might hit back at some point in the season. And that to me is horrible.
It did hit back.
So to sum up, I'd say that not only did we fail to step up on a tactical level, because if you look at tactically, we were a hole in the midfield, which is, I don't think, in any sort of way or sense acceptable given the resources we have. And the fact is, when you have that sort of thing, you can't have a bad man management and bad tactics and a bad reaction. At the end, it just strikes back, and that's what we saw against Athletic Club.
Yes, and it's not just Koeman to blame. People are also blaming the defenders who bottled an 89th minute lead. But they have been struggling for a long time, and the lack of midfield domination is a trend right now, which obviously is very uncharacteristic of Barcelona, because throughout the ages we have had one of the greatest midfield trios in the world. So right now, even with Pedri, De Jong and Busquets, people like them, we struggle to dominate in the midfield. It is definitely a matter to look into, as in why we do that. But it has cost us time and time again. And also, as we headed into the extra time, Koeman did not do anything to relieve Messi because he has had a very hectic schedule, and he obviously didn't expect to be playing so much extra time because he's obviously fatigued, and it showed because he got frustrated, which is our next topic about Messi's red card in the match versus Bilbao. Kai, what do you want to say?
I would say that Messi's suspension is a mixture of not only frustration, but really it comes with it this, which to me seems to actually be a winning mentality. When Messi did that, he did that because he was the only one, I think, or at least one of the only ones to really show he really wanted to win, and to show that extent of caring about the club and the win, for me, is just what he shows to the rest of the group. He shows them, see, we have a final, we have to win, and we'll do anything to win that. And unfortunately, that resulted in his suspension. But I think it extremely showed how much he actually wanted to win this final, because at the end of the day, Messi is a winner. No matter how much we lose, he will always want to win. And in the aftermath, I do think it may have a positive effect as it forces us to rest him, and so the same for Koeman. So that means that for the lower team, so-called, without any disrespect to Elche, it's good that he finally gets a bit of time to rest.
Yes, and definitely people have said this before, that Messi is not the best leader when it comes to leadership qualities. He is a winner, he wants to win every match, and in the replay, the defender was stopping him from getting into play. He obviously is a playmaker, he thinks 5 or 6 steps ahead of what he's playing at that moment. He passed and then wanted to go in forward and carry on with the ball, but the defender got in his way, and sometimes just in the emotions of the final minutes, these things definitely happen. It is the first time Messi got a red card with Barcelona, direct red, with that foul, so it was very uncharacteristic of him, but at the end of the day, even not being biased fans, we cannot blame him at all. Hitting the buzzer, moving on to the next topic, the decline of Clement Lenglet. So he has cost us throughout the season time and time again. He has been a consistent fouler, he has given away penalties, he has missed he has failed to receive easy passes which have led to silly goals, and he lacks pace. He has been a mess to sum it all up. So Kai, what do you want to say about
To me, Lenglet is really a mystery, because if you look at his seasons from last season or 18-19, he was the one to step up. His passing range was wonderful, and even if defensively it was never his strong field, he was never, prime Tito, whatever, but at least he was decent enough. And since the beginning of this season, he has just been tremendously terrible on every level. His passing range has already decreased, even if he still has a decent passing range, it's nowhere near as excellent as before. And defensively, he's just a whole mess. I'm not sure what exactly caused this. Is it maybe that the A2 was such a trauma that he just couldn't? Is it perhaps, to me, the fact that he's coupled with Alba, who has enormous lapse of concentration as well? But the fact is that it's unsustainable. It was now Lenglet's chance, with Piqué out for so long, to step up, and instead he has literally done the opposite. And that to me is unacceptable, not only because we expect more from him, because he's paid for that with his contract renewal quite recently, because he's the older and he's supposed to show the example, but just because we saw he can be great, but the problem is he isn't. And at some point, I'm sure we will have to drop him. At this point, if he continues, I would even actually ask the question whether we should not sell him even, because it's unsustainable. And when you have, say for example, Araujo who steps up, who's defensively solid, who wins all his duels, and you have Lenglet. Araujo Lenglet looks like he's the younger one and not the older one. And at this point, it's just becoming embarrassing both for the club and for us.
Yes, definitely. A young player like him, he had a lot of promises when he came to the club. He's like, 25 years old? All of us expected him to be a helping hand to Gerard Piqué, and definitely one of our main defenders in the future. And as you said, he is a mystery. What happened to his performance when he joined to Barcelona is debatable. One of them, yes, maybe Alba's lack of concentration, but for a signing fee of 35 million euros, all of the fans, we expected him to definitely be a long-term investment, because that's a large amount for a centre back. Furthermore, with Gerard Piqué's injury, it was obviously common sense for everyone that he would be the leader in the defense. However, that theory hasn't been seen in the match. Araujo has been a much better player than him. He has taken more initiatives. He has had loads and loads better stats. He hasn't made silly errors like Lenglet does without explanations, which is our next topic. Araujo to the rescue. Kai, what do you want to say?
I would like to say that Araujo is just exceeding any expectation. To be honest, when I watched him at the V last season, and since he's actually come to the club, I never expected that level. In the sense that I always thought that his passing range would be a huge problem if you want to be the leader in the defense at Barca. The fact is, he has proven me wrong. The fact is that he wins almost all his aerial duels. He has like a 83% winning aerial duels ratio at the moment in La Liga, making him fourth in the whole of La Liga, which is tremendous given his experience, which is next to little. And the fact is that he's trying to. We can see that he's trying to compensate every sort of weaknesses he has in the passing range. And that is what I already said this morning on Twitter. But the fact is that if you put Araujo, you have him in defense, he wins all the aerial duels. He actually physically is imposing himself. If you put him next to a great passer, way better than Lenglet, and at least a minimum defensively solid, your defense is sorted for, say, 10 years. Because the fact is that even if his passing range is not decent, A, it can improve, and B, he'll just have to pass next to his teammates who can carry the ball for him. The fact is that he'll be your last man standing, and I'm dreaming of the fact that he could be a Mascherano in the sense of being the last one to tackle, being the last one to defend. Because that is what he does. He defends and he actually scares his opponents. His opponents, when they see him, he's in a 1v1 and psychologically he's just ahead of them. Because he has certainty to win the duel, he forces it, wins it, and we're back in possession. And there's no more to ask from such a young man, especially considering that he's not a La Masia product.
Yes, and I definitely can't wait to see him play with PK. I want to see how that chemistry works out. And also, he's a big guy. He's imposing. His stats are off the charts. Last match, he had a player rating of 8.5, which is insane for a defender. Definitely, I would want him to stay with the club in the future because I have like zero complaints regarding him. So, hitting the buzzer, moving on to the next topic. Elections postponed to March 7th. So, Kai, you're a Font fan, right? You're Team
Yes.
Font. Yes, so as other Team Font members were talking on football Twitter, that Font could use this time to come up with new strategies because he has gotten very, very lesser signatures than Laporta right now, and it is more. Laporta winning, if the election was held in January, was a much higher probability than Font. So Kai, what is your opinion about this? Is it all positive, or do you have any reason to want the elections not?
As of now, I still wanted the elections, of course, on the 24th. Don't get me wrong. I do think that every day matters, every week matters. But on the other hand, the problem is, as Font pointed it out, we want everyone to vote. Firstly, he already proposed that a while ago with the electronic voting. But beyond that, the fact is that if you look at how the election would have been held on the 24th of January, there was, as Font pointed it out, no real certainty that every single member that has registered for the vote would actually have access to the voting system. That is firstly because of COVID problems, but also of station problems. And that is why, as much as I like Font, I do disagree that I would have wanted the election on 24th of January. However, the thing is, as I said, the condition is that every single of the member of the 100,000 socios eligible to vote would have be able to vote, because otherwise, if you don't have a vote with everyone participating, it's not democracy. And the fact is that as much as I hate March 7th, we have to accept the solution because we don't have a choice. With Tusquets being around, we don't have a choice. So we just have to accept that. And that will be, unfortunately, a month and a half lost for nothing.
Yes, definitely. I also believe that the postponing of the election was definitely a fairer choice, as in catering to democracy, but also every day counts. So if it was up to me, I would rather have the elections being conducted in January. But they say that it's for a more fairer competition, a more fairer election. So let's see what it comes to. Okay, hitting the buzzer, moving on. Kai, the starting 11 versus Elche.
I would say firstly that I would actually rest Alba, even if Firpo didn't have such a great game. Fact is that you have to start him to give him actual chances, and more than just once every second month. And secondly, because we know that if Alba plays too much, the stuff that he did versus Bilbao happens. That means we're playing bullshit, and at some point he will commit an error which leads to a goal, as it happened directly after we scored. So I want to avoid that, and that is why I would rest Alba and have Firpo. Then I would most probably once again have Araujo, because there's no other choice. And unfortunately, I do think I would still have Lenglet there, just for the reason that I do want Minguez at right back, since I do want to wait until we have Dest for more important fixtures, so to have him fully fit. So that would be my backline, with Ter Stegen of course being the goalkeeper. And then I'll go with single pivot of Pjanic. And as in truth, I'll have Ricky Puig and Frankie. And finally, my front line would consist of Pedri, even though he's tired. I'll dress him later, but I definitely think that he should play the first 70 minutes before subbing Cornella de la Fuente later on, for the simple reason that I do believe he's better as a sub, which I'll explain my topic afterwards. And then in the center, I would obviously have Griezmann and then Dembele. I'm willing to give Griezmann another chance, but then obviously if Messi can play, I don't think I have much of a choice between Griezmann and Braithwaite. I don't think it will change the game that much in terms of impact, so this would be my lineup.
Yes, about me, I wouldn't want to lowball the team very much, because it's never good to underestimate your opponent. So here's my lineup. In goalkeeping, I think that Ter Stegen has been terrific, so he doesn't need to prove anything, so Neto can play. He's a good enough keeper, and he has been wanting minutes for a long time. For defense, of course, Araujo and Lenglet, because defensively we're very we don't have much to choose from. Though I can foresee Umtiti sub later, and of course on the as a right back Mingueza and left back Firpo. In the midfield, I would obviously have Pjanic because he's the most experienced. I wouldn't play Pedri at all, because he runs a lot. He runs a lot, and it is physically very exhausting on him. So Ricky Puig has been wanting minutes. We want him to get minutes. So of course I'll have Ricky Puig in the midfield, and maybe I would give Moriba and Collado chances in the midfield, because it's Elche. With no disrespect, obviously. For the front three, I would like to see a player who impressed me very much last match, which is Conrad de la Fuente as a winger. I would have Braithwaite as a number 9, though I don't want him to play full time. I want Griezmann obviously, and Trincao hasn't been very spectacular. He hasn't clicked in with the team, but just to give him a chance to maybe show if he has got potential, I would sub him off in exchange for Braithwaite, and let Griezmann take the centre forward position later on in the match. Hitting the buzzer, we head on to final words. Kai,
as I said earlier, I'm gonna talk about Conrad's performance in the fact that his strength is exactly what we want him to have. That means that firstly, he's terrific in 1v1s, and more importantly, he has the pace to beat his opponents, and that through also movements that are very vertical, which is essential to Koeman's plans from a forward perspective. And secondly, the thing is that I like to add to him, I wouldn't have him as a starter. I wouldn't want him to play 90 minutes, because firstly, it's exhausting at that age to play 90 minutes, that's the first thing. And secondly, because the fresher he is and the later it is, the better, because that means that his energy will be used for lesser time, but also it means that the opponents will already been tired. For example, if you sub him at the 70th minute, they've already been running for 70 minutes straight. He, as a young man, he will obviously be explosive, and especially he'll be fresh. And that's what you wanted him, because you saw moments yesterday, even if it was not for long, you could see him that he was just beating the crap out of their team when it comes to dribbling. And obviously, if, say, on one hand you have Dembele and on the other side you have Conrad, there's not much that can go wrong, for the reason that basically the opponents will obviously be focused on the wings. And by focusing on the wings, you obviously stretch the possible low blocks that you may expect against Elche. And that, in fact, could lead to any central, be it Braithwaite, be it Griezmann, or anyone else, to take advantage of that attention on the wings to finally break through the center. And I think that's essentially how you want to break low blocks.
Very good point stated, and also I think that with Conrad performing so well, there will be a lot of friendly competition for the wings between Fati, Dembele and Conrad, possibly even Trincao, which is what I'm going to talk about, is what people expected of Trincao when he came to Barcelona and what the deal is with him. Okay, so Trincao has been playing in the Portuguese national team and he has been impressive. His skills, his awareness, he likes to be independent, and he was already at a system with overlapping fullbacks so it was expected of him to fit in at Barcelona. Antonio Salvador, the SC Braga president, where he played before, he stated that Trincao will mark an era at Barca, and he was sure. So needless to say, it's definitely an overstatement as of right now. So there were a few points for which he might have said that. One of them being obviously him being used to playing in a similar formation and him being an independent winger, and he also had to share his playing area with the overlapping fullbacks, which is a characteristic of Barca. But here's why he has been failing in FC Barcelona, is because he holds the ball for too long. He's been used to holding the ball for long and making decisions over a bit longer period of time in the Portuguese national team. FC Barcelona with the tiki-taka, JDP and all, we need a player who is much quicker on the ball, who makes one-touch passes, who makes playmaking decisions in a fraction of a second. Furthermore, his competition with very talented wingers like Dembele and Fati, who is injured right now, and also Griezmann on the wings, it hasn't been serving him well. He hasn't been getting the minutes he hoped for, and even with the minutes he has got, he hasn't been able to score even one goal. He has made some primary errors in the past, which can be attributed to both both lack of confidence or he could not predict the goal beforehand. So as for now, it is very risky to say that whether he will be an integral part of the Barcelona squad in the future, because he obviously lacks confidence and he hasn't been able to convert his minutes into goals. However, I would also not say that he is a definite let go, that we should let him go in the future, because he is a phenomenal player by all means. We have seen him at playing for Portugal, and we continue expecting it. And with the wingers we have at our possession right now, being Dembele, Fati and Conrad, they are very promising. I think we can afford to have a player like Trincao, and we can help him recover. We can help him to gain the form which we expect of him, while other players are covering for him. So that's all. That was my final words. Thank you everyone for attending this episode of Buzzing with Barca. Kai,
No,
want to say
I'm
anything?
fine. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, just the two of us, because obviously everyone is busy. This was obviously my first time hosting, and man, Marco, how do you do it? This is tough. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching. We're signing out now. Forza Barça, Vicaya Barça. We'll see you in a next episode, hopefully very soon. Bye bye.